It's that jumpin', yeah. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', right around song of my trees. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', right around song of my dreams. I be ballin' in music like Kobe. I'm the greatest to ever do it, they don't know it.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back. It's been a little while since we've had Turtles Take going here live on the airwaves. We are back joining you tonight. As always, is my partner in crime to the right of me, Turtle. Vince, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, bro. How you doing?
Doing good, man. It's been a while since we've had the opportunity to grace the presence of the airwaves together, so happy to be back.
Definitely been a long time. Good to have you join us. You know, we did done a few shows here on the Undefeated for the Hibernation show with our guy Ace. But it's good to have my partner in crime back, making your Undefeated debut.
Absolutely. Definitely been a long time coming that we've been talking about it, so I'm glad we were able to make it work out. And we got a terrific show lined up for you guys that are tuning in. We got 3 very big guests joining us this evening. Former Bear Steve Edwards will be joining us at 7:25 p.m., followed by Lester Wiltfong Jr. at 7:55 p.m. And to close the show out, we got our guy Lorenzo Hood joining us to talk a little bit of everything, but we're going to be Bears heavy the first part of the show as we have 2 big Bears guests coming on with us. And, man, it's been a while since we've got to chalk it up and talk football, so you know I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, I can hardly wait to hear what you have to say about the whole Nagy situation.
So, first and foremost, before we get right into it, let's recap the Bears a little bit because, as I said, it's been a while since we've got to talk football. So, the Bears come out. They've only won 6 games now all season. Definitely not the performance that I was expecting out of the Chicago Bears in 2021. I think you were a little bit more in line with the honestly garbage record that they have right now, but I was optimistic. I was thinking they'd be above 500. Obviously, they can't just go 500 now with adding the extra game, but unfortunately, where we're at now, the Bears organization is in complete distress, if you ask me. I mean, Justin Fields has had some bright spot moments. I'm not a guy that's going to write the young kid off by any means. I think that once we get a credible head coach in here that plays to his strengths, I think that we will see Justin Fields prosper a little bit more. But with that being said, he's had some flashes. He's turned the ball over a lot. He's made some rookie mistakes, but that was to be expected. Overall, it's all about his development this year, and I think we've seen him take an upward path. You know, obviously he's been injured a couple times here, which have derailed his season a little bit. But that's one question that I have for you. Do you think that Justin Fields is actually injured right now, or do you think that the McCaskies have told Nagy and co, we don't want Justin playing under you anymore?
I mean, I think he's injured. I don't, I know a lot of people say that whether it's the McCaskies or it's Ted Phillips or Ryan Pace, whoever it is, you don't gain anything from that. At this point, if you let them play this long, you might as well let them play it out. And I think the thing to remember is, you're not alone, but there's plenty of people who are, all up in arms looking for Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy to be dismissed here. I don't know that the Bears feel the same way. I think we're all getting caught up in the fact that we all think he's a bad coach. I truly think that the Bears believe he's a good coach.
Of course they do, because they're not football guys. I mean, the presser at the end of last season, beginning of the off season, where McCaskey and Phillips came out and said, Nagy as well as Pace are our football guys. They're the guys that we trust and listen to. That told you everything that you need to know. I don't believe that it's both are gone or nothing at all. I do think there's a scenario where the Bears move on from Matt Nagy and they keep Ryan Pace in the organization. I think there's a very likely chance of that maybe he moves up into a president of football ops type role, and they bring in a GM and a head coach per his direction. I'm not totally sold on that idea. I think that Ryan Pace has hit on some picks in the late rounds, but he's been inconsistent at best in the early rounds. And don't get me wrong, that happens to every single GM in the history of general management. Nobody's going to go out and swing for 100. I mean, it's unbelievable what misses Ryan Pace has had, but at the same time, he had a phenomenal draft last year, and maybe that's enough to save him. I mean, you go out and you get Tevin Jenkins, Justin Fields, and Larry Borum in the same draft.
But was it a phenomenal draft? You traded the house for a franchise quarterback that you don't know after his rookie year if he's really a franchise quarterback. You traded up and drafted your franchise left tackle, who you don't know if he can play left tackle or if he's going to be a right tackle because he was hurt when you drafted him, which Ryan Pace loves to draft hurt guys. So you've seen very little of him, and what you've seen of him didn't look good. And you drafted Larry Borum, who, he looks decent, but what's to say he's not going to be another Charles Leno who looked great? And then all of a sudden, the real Charles Leno came out, or a Sam Mustipher who looked great. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, he's our future center. He's our guy." And then this year, you could pass rush against him.
Oh, absolutely. I think overall, I want to go back to what you said there with your comment about Justin Fields and you not knowing whether he's going to be the future at quarterback in this organization. I think without a doubt that Justin Fields is the quarterback for the Chicago Bears for the next 5 years, without question. I don't think there's a single scenario out there where Justin Fields does not develop into the guy. Is he the guy right now? I don't know.
So what do you see from
a lot of rookie mistakes?
So what do you see from Justin Fields is going to make him the first Ohio State quarterback to be a real franchise quarterback?
Didn't Joe Namath play at Ohio State?
I don't know. Did he?
Yes, he did.
Bro, that's like 1930.
1970s, but
same thing. It's still before I was born. It means nothing to me.
No, I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying, what makes him going to be different than, Terrell Pryor was the guy, then Troy Smith was the guy, and all these guys that came after him. What was the other one? JT Barrett. Everybody that goes to Ohio State looks great is going to be a franchise quarterback, and then they don't.
I would say the one thing that separates him from the rest of those guys that you just named is, one, he ran a pro-style offense with Ryan Day at Ohio State, and two, we've seen flashes of it already. Have you not seen flashes where you see Fields?
Saw flashes from Terrell Pryor too.
You see him, yeah, but Terrell Pryor never threw a 60-yard dart right into the hands of a receiver in an NFL game.
I'm sure he did at some point.
Well, maybe preseason, but
he also don't forget he did play quarterback in the NFL. He also had a 95-yard or 98-yard touchdown run as a quarterback in the NFL. It still didn't translate to him being anything more than an average quarterback at best.
So let me ask you this, because I know how you felt. I know how you felt about the Trubisky situation last year and everything like that. Do you think at this point in time, Justin Fields in his rookie season is showing more or less promise than Mitchell Trubisky did in his rookie season?
I think that in this limited time we've seen him, he looks more the part than Mitchell Trubisky did at any point in Mitchell Trubisky's Bears career.
I
I
would
think
agree.
that he has shown flashes of being why you traded up for him. He has shown poise, he's shown leadership, and he's shown to be the guy on and off the field that you hope your starting quarterback will be. That
I would
being
agree.
that being said, he's shown some flaws, which are expected, especially at this point in his career.
Right.
It will just be something that you have to watch going forward. Can he get the quicker release? Can he get through the progressions faster? Can he decide I'm going to run faster than 1, 2, 3, 4? Nobody's open. Now I'm going to run. Oh shit! Somebody just tackled. If he the game
Understand.
he the speed is the speed. Everybody struggles with that, especially young
Right.
quarterbacks. He's shown enough that at this point, if I had to put money down, it would be the fact that he is the guy you thought he was, and the reason you traded up to get him.
Okay. You obviously, I love playing devil's advocate when it comes to that type of situation, but I got to know it's been burning in my pocket since we started talking. Do you think Matt Nagy's gone at the end of this year? You said maybe the Bears organization likes him a little bit more than, the average fan or the media thinks.
From all reports, it does sound like they've decided to move on. Some of his decisions kind of make it look like he's auditioning for his next job. I think, and it's not necessarily, I don't condemn him as much as the average Bear fan does.
You
Um,
definitely don't.
I think he was given a very poorly put together roster by Ryan Pace.
Okay.
I think us as Bear fans, especially, I think we latch on to things too much sometimes, and we make a bigger deal out of them than they really are. Somebody, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody started the term Nick Foles was Matt Nagy's hand-picked guy. I
Yeah.
don't believe that to be true. I believe that he was the guy that Matt Nagy was given out of the options he was given that they could realistically go achieve and attain. And he said, I think I can win with this guy.
So
Um,
So
but it,
with
go
that
ahead.
comment, I hate to cut you off there, but
No,
with
you're
that
good.
comment, it makes me wonder what was the logical thought process behind going and getting a guy like Andy Dalton when Andy Dalton and Nick Foles are basically the same guy?
See,
Why
but
do
they're
you,
not. But they're not though. Like everybody keeps saying that, but all
that
Andy Dalton keeps doing is going out there and producing. Like Andy Dalton hasn't played bad. Like
they're
he's
both
actually played pretty good with a really shitty team.
they're
I mean,
both
he's
serviceable veterans that are backups at this point in their career.
look, if I got to roll with Andy Dalton, I feel comfortable rolling with Andy Dalton. That I think I could win with him if the pieces are around him. At this point, he's played better than Justin Fields has at times. And it's
At
funny
times.
to see all these different groups that we're a part of, and these chats and text messages and all the other things. And guys, first it's Justin Fields should be starting. He should be taking every rep. Then it's, well, why isn't Andy Dalton in there? He plays better than Justin Fields.
Yeah, you
Then Nick
can't go
Foles
back.
goes. Then Nick Foles goes in, and they go, "Oh, Nick Foles should have been. Why is he starting? Well, because he's the only healthy quarterback on the roster." Then he goes out
Right.
there and they win, and it's, well, Nick Foles should have been starting the whole time. It's like I
No.
think everybody just lives and dies with every single snap and every single game. I just think everybody kind of loses track of the big picture here. Going into
Well,
this year, we never thought the Bears were a Super Bowl team going into this year. We really didn't even think they were a playoff team. So all they've really done is
right.
be exactly who we thought they were to start the year.
But everybody thought that, we're going to catch lightning in a bottle and Justin Fields is going to come out and play just like Justin Herbert did in his rookie year. But we knew better than that, right? One, this is the Bears. They don't have a good offense. The offense is not going to succeed with the pieces that they had in place at the beginning of the season. Sure, the line's starting to true up a little bit more now with a healthy Jason Peters. Obviously, you've got Borum in there taking reps, getting experience. Sam Mustipher looks like garbage. I think you need to move on from him. I would move on from him at the end of this season.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think your safest bet. I mean, obviously, you're going to try to look for somebody in the draft, but your safest bet is Cody Whitehair going back to center,
Yes.
and James Daniels going to right guard. And then Borum at right tackle, Jenkins at left tackle, and then you're just looking for a left guard, and you hope that line then works and it works well together.
Right.
When Steve's on, we could talk to him a little more about this. It's his expertise, but sometimes good players just don't play well together. And you've got to find that fit on that line where the combo works, and I think that's what happened last year was they finally found a combo that worked, but they also got to the really easy part of the schedule at the end of last year.
Right.
And everybody went, oh my God, look, they can finally move the ball. And it's like, well, sure. Look at what the Bears just did to the Giants last week.
Right. They can move the ball really good against the Texans or other teams that are garbage.
And again, it goes back to as Bear fans, and it could be just a fan in general, and it's just because we only see here in Chicago. But, I laugh at some of the comments some of these fans make because, some of them are just, they're out there.
I understand what you're saying. And, to that point, I think they say two of the craziest fan bases are the Bears and the Eagles when it comes to football fans. And, it's almost these fans have such an instant gratification mindset that it doesn't matter who's out there, what's happening. I mean, you saw when the Bears went out and got Mike Glennon 4 games into the season, they were screaming at Dow Loggins on the sidelines that they had to put Trubisky in, and fans were chanting it at the game.
Well, I think it was the game in I believe it was in Tampa. Then he had six turnovers in the first half or something like that. And it was like, bro, that's it. We can't go.
You got to go to the rookie. But then they go to Trubisky. Trubisky did enough his rookie season. Obviously, the defense carried that team in his rookie season. Bears make the playoffs. Obviously, everybody knows the dreaded double doink that happened and the heartbreak and anxiety that we all felt when that football hit the crossbar and bounced not once but twice.
Yeah, I mean, what a painful memory, right? Like, especially being there and the kid going through and the whole place going nuts, not knowing that somebody called the timeout because you couldn't hear it there.
It was horrible, man.
Saw the ball go through, and it was like, yeah, we're moving on.
Right.
And the rest is history. But the one thing I want to throw out there, I was talking with a couple fans on Twitter the other day, and they were all bashing Matt Nagy, and one of them asked, "Why do you always defend Matt Nagy?" And I don't know that I defend him. I said, "But answer me this." I said,
"A little bit,
probably a little bit, but what is different about the offense from the year that they lost to Philadelphia on that kick? What's different from that offense then to the offense now that makes him no longer able to call plays? Like what how does the offense look so much different that you no longer trust him to call a play, but that year you thought he was an offensive genius?
I will say this, a lot of it comes down to, for me at least, his personnel usage. I think his personnel usage is horrible. I think.
And who do you think he should use? I mean, doesn't the term throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks come to mind when you think of the Bears offense? Like
yes
what playmakers does he have that when it's like looking in a bin and going, well, shit.
Well,
I have no bullets. I got all these guns
I do understand your perspective there, but from my perspective, I have to say that I think you look at obviously the tight end position. I think that they should utilize more tight end heavy sets that give Justin Fields.
And who should they use in those sets? Jimmy Graham, who is great in the end zone, but not that good the rest of the field. Or Cole Kmet, who still is trying to learn how to catch the football in the NFL.
I think they should use.
Or do you have to go get J.P. Horsted?
I think they should use Horsted.
Jesse James, all these guys that have
Horsted has a connection with Fields, similar to what Mooney does.
Great for that one pass. He looked really, really good on that one.
Similar to what Mooney does. You saw it in preseason. I mean, he did have a 3-touchdown game in preseason. Obviously, it's preseason.
He was going against guys that are bagging groceries now.
Obviously, that's preseason. But
okay, so let me ask you this: if you have to put the blame for where we are as a Bears organization, if you have to put the blame, you can only put it on one guy. Is it on Ryan Pace or is it on Matt Nagy? Who is more to blame?
I put it on you for defending Matt Nagy so much. No.
But look,
in all seriousness,
look at all the moves that they've made, right? Look at everything that they've been put in front of us. Let's put our detective glasses on here for a second. Matt Nagy sent Andy Reid so much stuff on Patrick Mahomes that Andy Reid had to tell him, Matt, stop sending me videos of Mahomes. We're going to draft him. Ryan Pace traded up when nobody wanted him. Ryan Pace traded up to take Mitchell Trubisky.
So
Ryan Pace used a first-round pick on Leonard Floyd.
Ryan had a productive season as a Ram.
Well, sure. I bet he does it with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and the list, and John Johnson, and the list goes on and on and on of playmakers that defense has. I'm sure he has had a good year.
The Bears have Khalil Mack. The Bears have Robert Quinn. The Bears have
Quinn didn't play with Leonard Floyd. Okay, and Robert Quinn, who just replaced Leonard Floyd, just set the franchise record for sacks.
That he did. Robert Quinn's a phenomenal player.
By the way, I will, not to be puffy-chested, I did call that on Turtles Take, when we were at that other place.
Yeah, you did.
I
will give you that. I will give you that.
I told everybody to just chill out and give Robert Quinn a chance to be healthy for a whole year and a whole offseason with his team. I didn't think he was going to set the franchise record in sacks and passing Richard Dent. I didn't think he was going to do that, but
and he could come out here and have a phenomenal game against the Vikings and take the NFL record.
He could, but it'll be in 17 games. It doesn't matter. It's all an extra game now. Right. But no, and all kidding aside, Ryan Pace has made bad pick after bad pick. The Leonard Floyds, the Mitchell Trubiskys, the paying Mike Glennon,
that's a really bad one.
The Tariq Cohens, because as much as people don't want to admit it, I know people in Chicago love Tariq Cohen. He's a failed project. He's not fast enough to run away from anybody, and he's not strong enough to run through anybody.
And where's he at right now?
He's on the PUP list because he couldn't get healthy at any point this year.
Yeah, that's obviously a major concern.
Everybody thinks Tariq Cohen is going to be Tariq Hill because he's small like him. Well, the difference is Tariq Hill runs past everybody. Tariq Cohen doesn't run past anybody.
Right.
So you look
Tariq Cohen runs east-west for 10 yards and only gains 1 yard.
So you look at guys like that. Then you have the Leonard Floyds. The things that stand out to me is the trading up to get Trubisky when nobody else was going to pick him there. San Francisco wasn't going to draft him. I know that there's been reports that so-and-so was going to trade up and blah, blah, blah. No. Nobody was trading up for Trubisky. He was going to be there at 3.
Trubisky may not have even gone in the first round had the Bears not drafted him.
I mean, I'm sure he would have because, so many quarterbacks went. But, to me, the thing that I'll always hang my hat on with Mitchell Trubisky is that's fine if that's your guy. We're all entitled. By all means, that's your position. You're allowed to pick whoever you want. What did you see that you felt, no matter what, I have to trade up. I cannot get stuck with either Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. So
that's the question. That's the ultimate question.
That's what you're saying, right? Like if let's just say Mitchell Trubisky is drafted number 2. Somebody trades up and they draft Mitchell Trubisky. You're left with Patrick Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. And I'll be the first one to admit, I did not think Patrick Mahomes was going to turn into Patrick Mahomes. I thought he was another, just like everybody else. We thought he was just another Texas Tech quarterback. They run an air raid offense. They throw the ball 50 times a game. Of course, he's got big numbers, right? He's going to be another Graham Harrell. I know you're young. That's before your time.
I know who that is. I'm not that young. Come on now.
I'm impressed. Not many people do. But, but what did you see out of Mitchell Trubisky to Deshaun Watson that you said the guy that played at Clemson, the guy that hung 500 yards on Alabama 2 years in a row isn't good enough to win football games for me, that I have to trade the future away to go get Mitchell Trubisky, who started 10 games.
Maybe Ryan Pace knew that there was some massaging going on back then.
So it's stuff like that. And then it's the stuff like, the Mike Glennon situation. Nobody else was going to pay Mike Glennon that kind of money. Yes, other teams were interested in him, but not at that money. So you were realistically bidding against yourself.
Right.
And it's another situation where you said, I have to pay this much money because I can't get stuck with anybody other than Mike Glennon. Again, what did you see that you thought that was the guy?
Right.
Like, if anything, I would have loved for him to be all in on a guy like Josh Rosen. Clearly, Josh Rosen has not turned out to be an NFL caliber starting quarterback.
Right.
But at least at the time, he was young. There was still some promise that you saw in him. He was a guy that got a raw deal. He didn't play well with a really bad team, but you thought maybe he could play. Like, we still think he could be a starting quarterback. At least that's a guy that you say, okay, at least they're going for it. But instead, you went the Mike Glennon route. You went let's pay Mike Glennon, and let's pay him more than anybody else is going to pay him. I feel like Ryan Pace always, and Matt Nagy, and they say, if you hang around somebody long enough, you start to become them. And I feel like it's rubbed off on Matt Nagy, but I feel like they have this thing where Pace and Nagy need to make you feel like they're the smartest guy in the room.
And in turn, they prove that they're not time and time again.
They just, again, show you why they're not and why they're some of the dumbest in the room.
Yeah, I agree.
You see everything that went wrong in Jacksonville. You still saw Trevor Lawrence being rolled out and doing things to alleviate pressure from him. Yeah, we haven't seen that with Justin Fields. The whole Leonard Floyd, Tariq Cohen, Adam Shaheen, Honus Grasu, all these guys, they went out and Ryan Pace went out and picked
Kevin White.
Yeah, but everybody liked Kevin White that year. Nobody thought he was going to be. But these guys that I don't have a problem with missing on guys that everybody thought was going to be great. I have a problem when you miss on guys that nobody thought you should take when you took them.
That makes sense.
Taking Adam Shaheen in the second round. What did you see that other than the fact that he was big, what did you see that you thought he was worth a second round pick? When even the David Montgomery, you clearly thought Cohen was a great running back. So why did you then, when you had no first round pick or second round pick, did you then trade up in the third round, trade away more assets to go get David Montgomery? It's worked out.
But
he got lucky that David Montgomery is a hell of a running back.
I was going to say David Montgomery definitely outplays.
So you got the right piece there, but then again, do you not feel like you could have gotten another running back without giving up all those pieces that you had to give up to move up to get David Montgomery? Right. And then if that's the case, he compounds everything because, to fix this problem, I'm going to give away that. Well, then to fix that problem, I'm going to give away this. And it's like every time he does it, he just keeps pushing the bucket further down the road. Well, eventually you have to pay that toll.
Yeah,
and
you can't
right now we're paying that toll as a Bears organization. You have no first round pick. You were bad this year. Awesome. Fifth overall pick. Guess what? It's not yours. Right. Seventh overall pick, whatever it is not yours. So all these things, you don't have cap space. You don't have a destination that players want to play at. You don't have a head coach. You don't have a GM. Your roster has a lot of holes on it, and your defense is getting older by the day. Like I don't.
I think that's clearly been demonstrated.
You see all these different teams. Like Jacksonville. Okay, all that drama with Urban Meyer and everything that happened. Right. Okay, the roster's not that good. Well, you know what? They got $70 million in cap space. They have the first overall pick, Trevor Lawrence. They're going to have the first overall pick this year.
More than likely, yes.
And it's Florida, where people want to go and play. So at least they have all those things going for them. I just don't see where it's an easy fix for the Bears. I don't see where it's a short fix. This is a long-term fix. And my worry is that by the time the Bears are ready to compete for a Super Bowl, Justin Fields' contract will have come up. And now, let's just say he's great. Now you've got to pay Justin Fields.
And they will.
You look at what Seattle did with Russell Wilson. Seattle cashed in. Well, Russell wasn't getting paid. They cashed in when he was on his rookie deal. Since Russell Wilson's gotten paid, what has that team done? Nothing.
Not much.
All you've seen is high-priced, high-quality players get sent other teams or cut in free agency because they didn't have the money to pay them. Why? Because they're paying the quarterback. You have to cash in on these quarterbacks while they're on their rookie deals.
Or get them to take a team-friendly deal.
I'll tell you what, to be honest, team-friendly deals don't exist anymore, especially at the quarterback position. Because
Tom Brady took the biggest team-friendly deal there is.
Tom Brady's an old-school guy.
Yeah, there ain't many old-school guys left, but we got an old-school guy right here waiting in the green room that probably wants to say a few things about this Bears organization as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring him in. We got our guy, Big Steve Edwards, joining the show right now. Steve, what's up, man? How we doing tonight?
All right, what's up, fellas? How you guys doing?
What's up, brother?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Yeah, man. You know, these Bears, that's all we can talk about. Even though we suck, we have a lot of
I promised that Tarbill wasn't going to get me riled up today, and he did it again.
Yeah.
I always do, man.
It's easy for these Bears too, but you know, going along with you guys are saying, you know, talking about, I think that there's a lot of questions, a lot of holes. It just makes up for good talk, you know, even though we're not relevant in the whole scheme of things right now in this NFL, we do have a lot of questions that, you know, hopefully the Bears take care of in the right way to get the fans back, you know, interested. You know, I mean, we had such momentum when you made the trade and you picked Justin Fields. It was such a boost in the morale in the Bears nation, even, you know, throughout the NFL nationally, you know, and you know,
and then it was doubled up by then Tevin Jenkins still being there in the second round,
right?
Because everybody was like, "Oh, I hope we get this guy in the first round." To then trade up and get Fields, and then to get Tevin Jenkins in the second round, it was like, "Okay, now we got something."
Yeah, we just you know, it was exciting, you know, but you know what everybody feared was that will Justin Fields be mishandled? And I think you can look at it and say that was the case. You know, I think a lot of it was things have been kind of sloppily done, you know, with him. You know, just where was you know, we've seen some flashes, but, you know, I don't think they ever really put him in a consistent position to be successful. You know, you see the Pittsburgh game here, you see the San Francisco game there. But then you also see, you know, any game is tough against Baltimore, but there's a handful of games that you just see they never really gave him a chance. I forget I can't really think of the game that he got sacked a bunch of times and we were going empty.
In the Cleveland game.
Yes, thank you. You know, empty formate, you know, empty backfield, just you whenever, you know, you're not rolling them out. You're not doing the things just to give the kids some confidence. And then that's how, you know, you give them confidence through rollouts, boots, make him a threat with his legs, RPOs. And then you start gradually building him up into more of a pocket type of quarterback, build his confidence, you know, where he feels confident on the field and he, you know, he has a swagger going, not when he's just getting sacked and, you know, and that's demoralizing, you know what I mean? So
especially for such a young quarterback.
Yeah. So now we're at this point season, you know, really it's like who's playing this last week? Are we getting Justin Field back on the field and let him get some snaps? Are we getting these young players out there and letting them get some snaps? And then after that, it's just like, okay, what's happening? You know, I think it's the foregone conclusion that Matt Nagy's gone. So I'm telling people I'm looking past that. I'm not even looking at that. When it happens, it happens. I'm looking at the Pace situation and what we're hearing. Hub Barkish. I keep on messing his name up. Y'all know Hub. Y'all know
Hub.
Yeah. Hub was saying, like, from his sources that it's a possibility 50-50, more leaning towards Pace staying and having some kind of role. And I'm just totally against that, man. I know he's had some good shots, but you look at this Jacksonville game, not Jacksonville, this Giants game, and you look at, Mike Glennon. That it kind of rears his ugly head back at you that this guy was so terrible. Even Hub said in another interview, I heard him say, like, has anybody been this bad? And he said Jonathan Quinn, a guy who I've consistently, because I played with the guy who he finally when he got revealed that he was a bad quarterback, was with us. He got the big contract to be a backup. The money wasn't the same as it is now for quarterbacks. They're just throwing these guys so much money. They compared him to him. So that was a guy who they brought in. I don't know. I seen this meme where they had Mike Glennon and they had his neck. He's got the long neck.
That.
You saw that? They had every team, and the salary this guy was, he was getting, and of course we're at the top with 18 million. It just like you brought this guy in. So I think you got to look at the whole scheme thing. I'm gonna say this and let y'all get the going. I'm coming in ranting right away. No, you got to look at what Chicago. All you got to do is look around at the other organizations and what they've done. I go back to the Blackhawks pre Stanley Cup. You didn't even know the Blackhawks even existed anymore until they shut that thing down and rebuild it. What's the guy name? I'm not a big hockey savant, but Rocky Schwartz. Who was that?
Rocky Schwartz.
Schwartz, yeah.
It was his dad owned it, and then he took over.
Yeah. Cleaned it out. Bought the guys from Detroit Red Wings that the Bowmans. Is the Bowmans? I forget.
Yeah.
They brought them in. Yeah. Then you go to the Cubs. They go bring in Theo. They go out here and get a World Series. The Sox are in the middle of it right now. They tore it, they rebuild and retooled. You see the Bulls, what they're doing after the guard packs, they make a move finally and do the right thing and bring in some guys who know what they're talking about. And you bring in the Billy Donovan and, they go through that first year. Then all of a sudden that second year, they make wholesale changes to make this team a contender, number one in the East right now. All you have to do is look around you. There's blueprints all over, even in other sports and in your own city that you can follow. Like, hey, we need to tear this thing down, put people in place. Ted Phillips, you stay in the financial realm.
Right.
That's
go
now.
Go get that stadium.
Go be an accountant.
Yeah, you go do that. Okay. Pace, you're out of here. Nagy, already foregone conclusion.
Right.
Bring in a football ops and then get you a general manager. How do you and there's a lot of people saying Olin but if you don't want Olin back in the building and they know what they're getting with Olin, Olin's gonna come in, but like get these former players. Hey, did you see today? Tillman,
Jerry Azuma.
They're all saying hey,
I saw Jerry was saying that on Twitter.
Yeah, people, we're just you're just saying, hey, there's guys here for you to come to,
right? And
stop trying to figure it out yourself. We got guys who are willing and love the Bears. We love the Bears. I don't want to sit here and talk bad about these guys. Take care of us. The organization takes care of our former players with the Alumni Association and and guys who live here, and then they do the good things, bringing us all back and having the alumni outings and alumni weekends. We love the Bears. But include some of us. I ain't saying me, but some of these guys are really, really on top of their game. Bring them in, help you guys make good decisions and get the Bears on top.
Well,
go ahead.
I would have to say that the Bears generally want yes men at general manager and head coach. So unfortunately, they'd never bring Olin in because he'd tell it like it is, man. He'd get out there with some passion and set a couple guys straight for sure.
Well, what's the definition of insanity? Well, you hear that all the time. Doing the same thing over and over again. You got to break it up. You might have to bring the guy who's going to have a strong personality. Stop trying to avoid strong personality.
Well, and to piggyback kind of on what Steve said a little while ago, if you look at all these other teams in Chicago that have taken those steps forward, it's started, like he said, by tearing it down and rebuilding from the top down, not from the bottom up. You don't keep the people at the top when it was at its worst. You bring in the people who are going to help you get to where you're trying to go. Like he said, with the Cubs, with Theo, the Bulls for the longest time, the Bulls were John Paxson and Gar Foreman. They're our guys. We're not going to go against them. They bring in AK. AK redoes everything. And look, year one, boom, year two, but his first real year getting in place and bringing his kind of people in. And now you see the changes they're making. For so long, everything we talk about and everybody, the one thing that all Bears fans can agree on is that they're going to do what they've done forever. So to everybody's point and to Steve's point, it's time that they listen to the people who have been there and the people like Olin and the people like Jerry and Steve and guys who have been there and know the game and are willing to be honest. It doesn't do you any good to have somebody tell you, oh, no, you're really good when you're not. You need the people who are going to look in your face. The one thing Matt Nagy that I thought was good was when he first got here, he spoke about, well, we have that self-evaluation. We have people scouting ourselves, telling us what we're doing wrong. I feel like they've gotten away from that. And Steve, before you came on, we were talking about the reason that I was saying, would you put more blame on Matt Nagy or would you put more blame on Ryan Pace if you had to pick one? And I said Ryan Pace. I'm not giving Matt Nagy a pass. And I do believe it's time for a new voice. It's time for a new direction. It's time for a new leader behind the wheel of the Bears. But I don't think the way to do it is by giving Ryan Pace a president of football operations job and allowing him to continue to mold this team and a GM who's going to answer to him and do the things that he feels. There's been too many big mistakes. The biggest thing that jumps out to me, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, Steve, I feel that Matt Nagy does it now as well, but Ryan Pace has this thing that he needs to make you realize that he's the smartest man in the room. He traded up against nobody, and when nobody was going to trade up, he traded up to go get Mitchell Trubisky. I asked the question, by him trading up to get Mitchell Trubisky, he told you, no matter what, I cannot get stuck with Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes as my starting quarterback. I can't win with them. It has to be Mitchell Trubisky. That's what he told you by moving up to 2 to get him. By going out and paying Mike Glennon more money than anybody else was ever going to pay him, he told you, I have to have Mike Glennon as my quarterback. Those big things where he makes you feel like he's trying to tell you he's the smartest guy in the room is why I feel like they need that fresh start. No Ryan Pace, no Matt Nagy. Go in the direction of new leadership from the top down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I've never shied away from aiming my target at Ryan Pace. From the get go. It is what it is with Nagy. We know it all. I mean, his play calling. He had a flash in the plan in the first year, but we all didn't know that was built off of defense and Vic and what he brought to the table. But Nagy, he had some times, in there, and I think it's a little bit of his stubbornness that I think eventually kind of wore thin on people, his ability not to change. But it's always been targeted at pace. You're going to hit on somebody. You could throw me in there. I'm going to hit on some players. Let's hit. That's what you're going to do. But at the end of the day, you didn't hit enough to change the organization to the point that we can be consistently in the playoff contention, consistently
and serious contenders, not backing into the playoffs.
Yeah, and we're trying. You got to try to build something. And one thing, you look at Baltimore. You look at these organizations. Baltimore's not having a great year, but they're right there, still in the contention. They had a ton of injuries, so they're so tough. All the injuries, they're so built solidly that they're still in contention. Now they get back next year, they get all they healthy, they're right back at it. They don't fall off too much. Some organizations that even when they have their down year, it's not a down year. They'll mess around and get into the playoffs and get teams like that, the Pittsburgh Steelers, like they're just solidly built. And then when they do have a down year, you're not going to keep them down, and that's where we need to get to a consistent level. But we're so far away from that. But how do you get there? You got to be able to take the chance to change and do something different. And Ryan Pace has had way too many misses. You forget about Kevin White. You know what I mean? Like. I can't go back in these drafts. Okay, you draft this guy. Who we miss? It's probably many people we miss. Tariq Cohen, Adam Shaheens. You never got a quarterback.
We were talking about the same list that we were talking about the same list before you came on.
You never committed to getting another quarterback, a young guy. We don't have we got old veterans that we pay a lot of money to keep them on the roster. Instead of having like Olin, and I like to give my shout outs where I get this stuff from. Olin said, we don't have a young quarterback. Okay, we got Justin Fields, but what about having another guy that we've developed because we drafted him? The Heineke's of the world. You look at a guy.
Go ahead.
You look at guys like that. Washington gets a Heineke and they develop him, and he helps them win and keeps them in it. What I mean? We finally commit to getting some linemen this year. It's always been a one shot. Okay, we draft White here. Okay, we draft. Not collective. Like what happened to drafting 2 or 3 linemen and really building the thing up. And that stuff is starting to come back and bite. He's had too many misses. There's and you see it. Teams jump back into the thing, man. We just never been. Even Jacksonville had a consistency of about 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. We weren't consistent 2018, and that was it. You know what I mean?
You heard Ryan Pace come out. He told you years ago when he first got the job. He told you the way to do this thing is you draft multiple quarterbacks, at least one every year. You draft a quarterback, but then he didn't do it. How many years in a row did the Bears not draft a quarterback at any point in the draft? It's like, to your point, it doesn't have to be one in the first round every year, but you could draft one in the 3rd round, the 4th round, even the 5th round. You get like New Orleans with Ian Book in the 6th round. Some of these guys at least keep bringing in the young quarterbacks. He told you that's the way to do it, but then he didn't do that. Instead, and he didn't do that because he trades away his picks to fix every time he fixes something, he's got to give something away.
Yeah,
he's not bringing these guys in free agency. He's doing the draft. Even Justin Fields, we had to give away this year's 1st round to go get him. Which, if he's a franchise quarterback, I'm all for it. But the thing is, you keep pushing that bucket down the road and fixing the roster because you're giving away all your assets to fix the previous mistake.
Yeah,
You see it time and time again. It just seems like Pace is going to go out. He's going to draft a guy. It doesn't work out. Then he gets a replacement. You got Robert Quinn because Leonard Floyd didn't turn out. You drafted Cole Kmet because Adam Shaheen didn't work out. Bradley Soul didn't work out.
Right. Even the Justin Fields. You went and got Justin Fields because you missed on Mitchell Trubisky. It's not like it's not like a Green Bay situation where you had Brett Favre that played out his career and it was time to bring in a young quarterback. You're still missing. You brought in Jay Cutler and did nothing with him. You did all these things that you never get to where you're going. You're just giving away more stuff to try to fix what you screwed up the first time. Like we talked about Mitchell Trubisky. You said that I can't get away with going with Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, so you missed on 2 extremely elite quarterbacks. So now you're still fixing that. So now we're giving away future picks to still try to fix the same mistake we thought we fixed when we traded for Jay Cutler.
Yeah, I think it's the easy thing is always to do is move up in the draft. It's easy to do that. People are like, oh, he's aggressive. I think anybody. The hard thing is to sit where you at or move back and acquire more picks. That takes a little savviness. He's never showed any ability to do that.
No, like you look at New England. New England every year is moving. How many years in a row did they trade their 1st round pick and move back to get more picks? Because they're don't miss. They do everything the right way. They bring in the free agents. They do everything they're supposed to do.
Yeah, we're gonna need somebody. We need somebody savvy, like to come in. Like we can't have Pace sitting at the top still because you're quintessentially if you're the president of football ops, you are the CEO of football
Right.
at the Chicago Bears. You get to dictate what the heck. You get the hand pick. He's not deserving to be that guy. You are a CEO.
Right.
That means you've put in really good work as a general manager to get that spot. And that comes with a salary boost, and you run in the football operation. So if they put him in that position, it's a position not deserving. And then also he's getting another shot. He's getting another shot at. He's getting another shot at the coach. He's getting another shot. Like how many shots? Like, come on, man! It's just it's complete insanity.
Where's the accountability? Where's the holding people accountable for not being good at their job?
Yeah, man, it is none, man, and you can't have any. You're not going to have any success like that, man.
So I think we're all in agreement here that we feel it's you need a clean start. Moving on from Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. So we wake up tomorrow morning and the Bears announce Steve Edwards is the new GM. He's running football for the Bears. Who's the head coach? Where do we go from here? What's the game plan for getting this Bears team moving in the right direction?
First, you want to look at, I one thing I'm not going to do is just cater to our quarterback. Everybody's like, get the coach that caters to the quarterback. Get the guy who's going to be. Our team needs a coach. Our team needs a leader. A leader is going to put the right people in place. He's going to put the offensive staff together. That's going to be right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to have a wide web, wide search of everything. You know what I mean? I want to look at the older coaches. I want to look at the younger coaches. If you're a younger offensive coordinator or DC, you need to be offensive coordinator for at least 2 years. I need to be able to put some stats together. I need to see that you've led a group for at least a couple years. Matt Nagy only led a group a handful of games at the end of a season, which ended up not working out in the playoffs for him that year. So, I need to see more. I need to see you in control, and I need to know that not the head coach is calling. You're like just got the label of the DC, or it's more likely on offense. They say, oh, he's the offensive coordinator, but really the head coach is calling the plays.
Mm-hmm.
I need a true offensive coordinator. I know that this guy is true, but through my sources and through these guys this guy was calling the calls.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I need to look at these. Yeah, I want to look at Leslie Frazier's. I want to give these guys a shot. Everybody, these guys, a lot of guys get a second turn around, man. It's just, we need a leader. So I'm looking at everything. But I'm having some standards when it comes to this. Like, obviously I want to know what your game plan is for, Justin Fields. Do you believe in him? Obviously they can say anything. I want to know what your game plan is for him.
Right.
Who are you thinking? Yeah. If you're an offensive guy, obviously you're the guy. Like, who is your offensive line coach? Who do you have coming in? Is this guy a developer? I might stay a little clear from the college scene. I don't know, but I will look. But I'm a little weary of the college scene. You know what I mean? Because that hasn't really worked out. I'm not really sold. I was kind of on the idea of Ryan Day, but I don't know if that's going to be a good fit to get Ryan Day and like I said, just to fit what Justin Fields does. That's not what we need, because Justin Fields might not be that guy. He might not be that guy. So
there is always that possibility. But just to build on what you said there real quick, Steve, you look at a guy like Nick Saban, one of the greatest college football coaches of all time.
Right.
What did he do when he coached the Miami Dolphins?
It didn't work out. Personality, it didn't work out. And I was playing in the league at the time, and I got, it just didn't work out. Certain guys can't. I was just talking about Bill O'Brien. He's the offensive coordinator for the Alabama. He's probably, after, probably another year, coaching at Alabama. He's not coming to the pros. He's not coming back because his personality, he wants to be in control. You know what I mean? It's a fine line between being a over excessive control, and it didn't work out for Urban Meyer. He wanted control, and he was out of control. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
kicking the kicker and stuff.
Yeah, I need a stable, I need a level-minded person. I need to see and feel that. And I want, for me, even though say, okay, I'm the guy, I'm the new president. Okay, they gave me the job. Let me bring in Olin. Let me bring in my boys. Come join me in this search.
Mm-hmm.
Come search. Hey, Olin.
Right.
Hey, Peanut. Jerry.
Right.
Hey, Urlacher, Brent Lance Briggs. Come in, get in here with me, man.
Right.
Come sit down with me for a week, man. Let's chop this thing up, man. What do we need to do? I need to hear y'all thoughts.
Right.
Bring these guys. See, I'm a player, and I got knowledge of the game, and I've been in it. I want more knowledge. Let me bring my boys in. You guys have no knowledge, and you refuse to bring in football-minded people, and you got guys up and down this city. I want to bring more people to the table, and let's figure this thing out. Because hey, I got one shot to figure this thing out. And I'm gonna tell you one thing, that's outside me being the president. If you they saying in some form that Ryan Pace might be what to say. So they're saying it might not be football ops.
Right.
There might be some tuck him away. What kind of guy wants to be tucked away?
Right.
What kind of guy wants to? So that's telling if he's not the president of football ops and they put him somewhere else. This guy was a general manager. I'm sure that's what he's always wanted to be.
That was the same thing I said when we were talking the other day in one of our behind the scenes chats, and we were talking about. They said that it might be a director of scouting or a scouting consultant. I said, what kind of dude is going to go from GM to being just some consultant to the GM, or say you're going to work for the guy that just replaced you? Like, who would do that?
Yeah, like what kind of person wants to accept that role? Obviously, if he ends up happening, he's accepted this role. Like, hey, that means that dude that has no confidence or he doesn't believe he's going to get another shot, and we're going to keep
he
him
doesn't believe
around.
anybody's going to make him an offer, right?
Yeah, so nobody's going to keep him around. You know what I mean? Or even if he just went to another organization as the director of scouting, you know what I mean? He wants to stay in the organization. I'll be like, hey, you know what? Thank you for offering me this. I'm going to go find, make my way somewhere else. Maybe I sit out a year, then I get on with somebody else. But no, I'm not going to sit here. But like, if he accepts that, what kind of person is that telling you who he is? And that really makes me question. We really made the wrong decision for this guy to take that position. So
I got one more question, and Tarbill, I want to get your response to this too, your opinion after we get Steve's.
Yeah.
Fast forward, the Bears going to make a decision. Ryan Pace is kept in place. They keep Ryan Pace in charge. We all said we would move on from Ryan Pace. If it meant that Sean Payton was the Bears head coach next year, would you be willing to keep Ryan Pace if that's what that meant? Your two options are you move on completely from Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy on the left, or do you take the right side where Ryan Pace is still with the Bears organization, leading the Bears organization, but Sean Payton is the Bears head coach?
That's tough, man. That's tough. That's a tough hole to be in. Sean Payton is a great coach. He will come in. He's one of the top minds in this offensive game. Creative, figuring it out. I mean, he has it. He understands how to, up until he had, Drew Brees, even with Jameis Winston, they were I think with Jameis Winston, they will be a totally different year.
Yeah.
I just have to go with a clean slate, man. I still have to go with, because at the end of the day, I just want to clean. You know what I mean? It's tempting as, Payton is. I just have to go with the clean slate, man. I just want Pace out of here. He's had his opportunities. I don't want to link him up to, even as much as it brings, it comes with Sean Payton. I just don't want to give this guy another opportunity. Right. He's had way too many opportunities in life. You get only a certain amount of opportunities, and that goes for all of us at some point. How can you keep continually getting the opportunities when you passed up on one of the great young quarterbacks? And regardless of what all this stuff with Deshaun Watson is going through,
Right.
is one of the great upcoming quarterbacks, and he'll get back on track next year.
Yeah.
And all this stuff is
Right.
seemingly is getting dusted under the rug, and
Right.
he'll land somewhere. And
Right.
he'll be back on that field and doing great things. You passed up on those guys. You brought Mike Glennon in. You had chances to get a Kittle.
Right.
You drafted. You went through all these coaches.
Yeah.
It's over, man.
Yeah,
It's over, man. And there's a lot of great minds out there. And if I'll tell you this: if I'm football ops and I need to pick we skipped over who's the general manager because I had to pick a general manager. I'm going Reddick. What's his name? Not
Louis Riddick.
Louis
Riddick.
Yep.
Yeah. I would like to just shoot him right up there to football ops, to be honestly.
Yeah.
And let him, I think he's brought that credibility where he can run the show as a football ops. Either one.
Yeah.
General manager or football ops, I would love to have him. If I was just the football ops, I'm going to get Louis Riddick, and we're going to make a decision on these coaches. And then we're gonna and Louis Riddick, he's a pick guy, played in the league.
Right.
Well, he'll be down for bringing in players and let's get their opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Now you got football players up in there. Now you got football minds in there all over the building. Let us run the show. Let us get this thing. If we don't do our jobs, you can us. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Accountability.
Accountability.
I do have to agree with Steve on that one, though, Vince. I think that it is time for a complete rebuild. It's time for this team to move on, and I don't see a scenario that works where Pace stays in the organization. I don't know. That's just my thought. Steve, as always, we appreciate you joining us, bro. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your night to join us. Big Steve Edwards, everybody, former Chicago Bear. We always love talking with you, and we look forward to having you back. So
always an honor having you on, brother. Always an honor.
Oh man, appreciate it, man. I know I've been supposed to be getting on you guys. It's just I make school.
You're all good.
But
man.
whenever I do get on you guys, man, it's great chemistry. It's great time, man. And look to get on you guys soon, real soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll talk soon. Appreciate it, Steve. Have a good night.
Thanks, brother.
Man, nothing like talking football with a former player that's been in the room with a lot of those guys that are talking. But we got another guy here joining us actually in the green room right now. We've got our guy, Lester Wiltfong Jr., sitting, waiting, probably listening to what Steve had to say a little bit. How we doing tonight, Lester?
Doing good. How about you guys?
Doing well.
Man, can I just say what a jam-packed show, right? Like I know we're kind of blazing through things here. It's the debut episode of Turtles Take here on Undefeated. We got Tarbill back in the house making his undefeated debut. Nobody I'd rather be doing this show with. And then we got some of Turtles Take's best guests. We had Steve Edwards. He's been a great guest for us before. Lester, you've always been a great guest of ours every time you've been on. I mean, it's just such a jam-packed show and such a great way to kick things off here on the Undefeated.
Nice. Congrats on the brand new show, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And as Vince said, thanks for joining us. We've been talking a lot about the Bears general manager and
I gotta
coaching
ask him
positions.
the question. I know I'm diverting from the script here, but I gotta ask him the question. The question that I've been asking everybody. Lester, you got two choices. You got door A, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are gone. We're fresh start. We're rebuilding from the top down. Door B, Ryan Pace is still part of this organization, but it means that Sean Payton is the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. Which door is Lester Wiltfong taking?
I like the idea of Sean Payton in the building because I don't think he leaves New Orleans unless he has a little more power here. So I could see a situation where Ryan Pace stays in some capacity, but Sean Payton comes in and maybe he has total control over the roster. Maybe he has final say. If that's the case, I'm good with it because with Ryan Pace, he has been good at certain parts of his job.
Yeah.
Other parts of his job is just bad at. I'm not a fan of him always trading up. I think at some point you have to keep some of those picks. I'm not a fan of some of the way he aggressively targets free agents.
Right.
But I like the way he works the back end of free agency. So, there's pluses, there's minuses. I think if he had someone that was kind of checking him, he might be okay. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're only average in your job, you got to go. So I think Ryan Pace has got to go. But I do think Ryan Pace stays. I think he survives this somehow, some way.
I think so too.
I think he's going to stick around. I just can't see. Again, it's George McCaskey, man. He's making the call, and I don't know if George knows what the hell he's doing.
And now he most certainly does not.
I don't even think it's just that. I think if you rewind to this time last year, everybody was talking about Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace got to go. We heard person after person after person who came on our show, on ESPN 1000, people like Lester, people who know the behind the scenes of the Bears. They told us all, nobody in Hallis Hall is calling for those jobs. Nobody in Hallis Hall is looking. The McCaskeys are not looking to make a change. And I think that we're still there. I think they're going to get rid of Matt Nagy because they feel they have to do something. Yeah. So I feel like they're going to move on from Matt Nagy. But I think I truly believe that Ryan Pace is your next president of football operations. I think that he goes the route the White Sox did when they promoted Kenny Williams. I think that that's what's going to happen with Ryan Pace. He's going to just get moved up to the next spot out of that position, but still involved. And because the Bears aren't football people. They don't have football people. They basically told you in the press conference over the offseason that Ryan Pace is already the president of football operations. Yeah. He might not have that title, but they told you he runs football.
Ryan and Matt are our football guys.
So at what point do you think the Bears are really going to tear it down and go, well, now we have to not only find a head coach, but we got to find somebody who knows how to find a head coach.
Hey, I mean, Virginia's getting pretty old, though. I think she wants to see a championship in Chicago before she passes.
They sell tickets. That's all that matters. They sell tickets. They don't care. They don't gain anything by the Bears being better than they are now. They're already nationally televised. How many times with a piss poor product? They're already in primetime games. And I think, and I don't believe that Sean Payton is going to be the next head coach. Let me just throw it out there. But I do believe that a move like that, like Lester said, where he has final say of the roster and he has all those, is a way to move Ryan out of that GM spot where he has so much control, where he can screw things up so much without actually firing him.
Yeah, I think that's the best way the Bears are going to go. I just can't see them getting rid of Ryan Pace. I know there's a bunch of rumors about Ted Phillips maybe stepping down, retiring, or doing something else. Everyone talks about all the beat guys, how much that the McCaskeys value what Pace has done to the organization as far as getting Hallis Hall. There's the whole new stadium project. He may be involved in it as well. So, if he can kind of slide over to that aspect of things, like you said, he kind of falls up into a new role. You bring in another guy that kind of runs, what he used to do, kind of like that.
The day-to-day.
And then you get a football coach that can bring this offense into the next level, because, I mean, it's not Nagy. We've kind of seen it the last couple of years. It ain't him. So there should be some big changes.
So do you believe, and from that sentence, I believe that you're going that direction, but do you feel that the next coach has to be an offensive-minded coach?
Not necessarily. I think you get the right guy in there that's a leader. I think that's the most important thing. Whoever it is, though, he's got to have a plan for Justin Fields, because, you moved up to get the guy in the draft. He's shown enough flashes where you think, yes, he's going to be the guy. He may not be, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees level, but he's got those kind of skills where you see that path if he gets there. If you see the possibility. So you got to have a plan in place. So if you bring in a guy like Tobe or a guy like Todd Bowles, a defensive guy, a guy for special teams, what's your plan? Much like what Steve said earlier, what's your plan for Justin Fields? And if you have a good staff in place and your OC leaves, that's okay, because you keep moving it. Quarterback coach up. You got to have a good staff in place on offense. If that's the case, then give me the best leader possible.
Lester, kind of piggybacking on what you just said about the offensive staff, one of the things that's kind of caught me off guard this year, and I think has been the thing that's been kind of mixed over a few times, And I think it goes to speak of the stubbornness of Matt Nagy that so many people have talked about that are deal with the Bears or like yourself cover the Bears on a regular basis. Are you surprised that a guy like John DeFilippo was not more used or utilized? I mean, he's been an offensive coordinator. He's been a quarterback coach. He's been a guy that has had success. I know it didn't really work in Minnesota. That whole situation was kind of iffy at best anyways. But are you surprised that they brought in a lot of very prominent coaches who have had success in roles in offense in the NFL, but it seems like they're not very much used. Like even a Bill Lazor has only been used to a certain extent. Do you think that is because they're not at that level that they've had success at before with the roster they have here? Or is it just the stubbornness of Matt Nagy not allowing them to have such a prominent role?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with Nagy. It's his show. He wants to run his show. But then you got to look at Bill Lazor. And Bill Lazor, like I always say, the best thing about Bill Lazor calling plays, he's not Matt Nagy. I mean,
Right.
He's been fired from a couple jobs as an OC.
Right.
So has John DeFilippo. I mean,
Right.
as a quarterback coach with him, a lot of success. But when he had a chance to call plays, not a lot of success. All three of those guys, Nagy, Flip, and Lazor, they have their limitations as play callers. And I think on paper, as Bears fans, you're like, oh, yeah, it's a good staff. But when you take a step back and look at it, these guys are all that have all failed as play callers. So
Right.
at the end of the day, like I said, it's time to get these guys out of here. You got to get someone in here that knows what they're doing. I'm just not happy with a lot of the scheme stuff Matt Nagy does, whether it's him or Lazor calling plays. Yes, it's Matt Nagy's offense, but ultimately when Bill Lazor has the play sheet, has the call sheet, he's making the calls, and I'm not happy with his flow either. It's better than Nagy. I'll give him that, but
Right.
I'm not happy with his overall.
We were talking in one of our chats, I think 2 weekends ago, and we were talking about sometimes the Bears offense almost looks like they take turns throughout the game between Nagy, Lazor, and Flip. They take turns going through who's calling plays. The offense just looks like there's no structure, there's no organization to it. It's like, okay, now we're running Matt's plays. Okay, now we're going to run Lazor's plays. All right, now we're running DeFilippo's plays.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. You look at this Bears offense, they'll run the ball all the way down the field, and they'll want to run a wide receiver screen or a tight end sweep in the end zone. First thing they do when they come out. I've struggled to understand it since Matt Nagy's second year, exactly what his offensive philosophy is. They always talk about building an identity, and we need to get that identity. Your identity right now on offense is David Montgomery. You've got a top 10 running back that you need to feed everything through until your young quarterback gets healthy, in my opinion. And they've struggled to do that. Yeah, sure, the line hasn't held up at times, but we often lean on I could live 100 years and not see another wide receiver screen from the Bears out of the backfield at the goal line, and I'd be okay with it.
Well, you know what it is? It's the Kansas City offense. But what I keep telling everybody, the problem with trying to run the Kansas City offense is you don't have a Tyreek Hill or a Travis Kelce or a Patrick Mahomes.
Or Andy Reid calling plays.
Right. I mean, even if you had the best play caller, you could, I always say, I think Matt Nagy's still learning how to be a play caller. Well, he learned by having, all else fails, throw the ball to Travis Kelce. Well, just pitch it over to Tyreek Hill and let him outrun everybody. Yeah. All else fails, let Patrick Mahomes just throw the ball farther than everybody is on the field. And somebody will run under it and catch it. Like all those things that you don't have here. You don't have those to fall back on. So, like you said, the Bears don't have an identity. They run plays that you see out of that system with players who are lesser than the players who make those plays work.
Yeah, that's ultimately what comes down to. Matt Nagy wants to run what he wants to run instead of building his offense around what he has. And like you guys are saying, he has David Montgomery. The offense should be geared around David Montgomery because he is your best offensive weapon. Right. But Matt Nagy has not been able to show an ability to marry what he wants to do in the run game to what he wants to do in the pass game. The play action stuff doesn't work. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of plays where he'll run a play action from, and you're like, why are they running that type of play action? They don't run that run action.
Right.
Like, what's the
Nobody's
point?
actually running that.
The stupid jet sweeps where there's no fake to the guy. It's just like why do that if you're not going to show the fake once in a while?
Right.
And like the screens to the
Absolutely.
wideouts. There's the bubble's there, but there's no fades off that. There's no slants off that. There's no variation off that. Like I said, it's just a collection of plays. Nothing matches. It's just like I said, I can't wait to see Justin Fields with a competent offensive system next season.
Right.
Yeah, that's my biggest hope, is that we see the Bears offense take a step forward in the next season, even if that doesn't mean that the Bears are in the playoffs. It's not – Rome wasn't built in a day. Justin Fields is not going to come out and play like Patrick Mahomes next season.
I hope that they take a step forward, and the step that they take forward, this might be unpopular opinion, but I hope that step is without Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I think
he's out of here.
Yeah.
I have a hard time paying a guy what he wants to be paid. He wants to be paid like a top 5 receiver in the NFL. He's not a top 5 receiver in the NFL. Could he be a number 1 on a really good team? Yes, I think he could. I don't think he could be a number 1 on a bad team. And that's what he's on. He doesn't show, at least to me, I don't see the desire to go win the 50-50 balls, to go make a catch for your quarterback, to go do something to change the game. I feel like he's just a go with the flow kind of guy. And those guys are not guys you're paying $20+ million a year as a wide receiver.
Well, to counter that, I would argue that he was that type of guy that would go up and get a 50-50 ball until the Bears didn't offer him a contract and pissed him off and sent him into
It's all a business. If every time you hit those sidelines and get on the field, I don't give a shit about what's going on with your contracts. When you're on the sideline or you're in the locker room, by all means, let's talk about it. When you're on the field, go produce. You want to get paid? Go play like you're that type of player. And he hasn't played like he's that type of player.
No, he's had a horrible season.
And I'm tired of seeing him fucking catch the ball and fall down.
He's had a horrible season, but when you run curls and fade routes till you're blue in the face, I mean.
No, I'm not making no fucking excuses for Allen Robinson. I'm tired of him. Absolutely tired of him. I want to see no more Allen Robinson next year.
Like with him and his agent, they miscalculated the market severely. There was an offer on the table at some point from the Bears. And then, of course, a few guys got paid, and his guy's like, hey, let's wait and see what happens. I'm not sure.
And the market
changed. The whole COVID season hit, the cap dropped. He played the market poorly. He should have, in hindsight, he should have signed his deal that was on the table. It may not have been as much as Cooper got for Dallas, but it would have been a hell of a lot of money. He would have been set as it was.
Right.
And it's not like the guy hasn't been paid. The Bears paid him a big deal coming off his injury when he was
right. When he came out of Jacksonville.
He got 18.5 on the franchise tag. But him and his agent just played this poorly. It was just they made a decision to bet on themselves. They thought something would happen. And then, of course, there was a couple injuries this year. He had a bout with COVID this year. Just they played the market poorly, and I can't see him getting huge money. I mean, he'll get pretty good money next year, but nothing like what was on the table before.
No, and the only way he gets even close to it is if he goes to a bad team who just has plenty of money to pay him.
Yeah.
Like to your point with the way they play the market, somebody, whether it was his agent or somebody in it, should have said, first off, we don't trust the Bears quarterback situation enough to be good enough for you to put up those kind of numbers in a contract year.
Well, I look at it this immediately when you started talking about Allen Robinson and how his agent handled the market, it shifts me to basketball and how I believe it was Dennis Schroeder in the offseason was offered like a $45 million contract. And then he turned around and ended up signing, I don't even know with who, for $5 million because nobody else.
The Boston Celtics.
Because nobody else wanted him. And not to shift focus, I mean, but you see it in all sports, right? Time and time again, these players think they're worth more than their value. They misread the market with these agents who are supposed to be experts. And now look at what's happened. As you said, Robinson will probably yield no more than $15 million in the open market, I would think.
I think it may be even less than that. I mean, he may take a lot of incentives. He may not get the guaranteed money he's looking for, but At the end of the day, he made his decision. He had to live with it. I'm sure he's not happy with the way the offense looked this year, but you have a new quarterback in Dalton. You have a new quarterback in Fields, so there was going to be some issues there, but he didn't do stuff on his end either to kind of make things to get to a point where he was able to excel. When you get your chances, you have to produce, and he didn't produce as much as he should have. Was the offense going more towards Mooney this season? Yeah, it did seem that way early on, but at the end of the day, when you get the ball in your hands, make something happen. And I've never looked at Allen Robinson as a special player. He's a very good route runner. He's a very good football player. He's very good in what he does, but I'm not paying elite money unless you have elite skills. And I don't see him as that kind of guy.
No, I definitely understand and agree with you there, Lester. I think that, as you said, the Bears have geared the offense more towards Mooney this season, but I think that's largely in part to the fact that he stayed after practice, put in extra reps with Justin Fields, built that chemistry up like no one else really on the offensive side of the ball had done with Justin Fields. And, Robinson's there too. He could have stayed 30 minutes after practice, caught some extra balls, but a guy like that's pissed off isn't going to do it. And I get it. I get both sides, but at the end of the day, I'm not willing to pay that elite money to a guy that isn't willing to go above and beyond for my organization to make himself be solidified as a true number one.
Yeah. Great guy. I wish him all the best. He's really good off the field as well. He is, in that locker room as well as a leader, but at some point it's best just to part ways. And this is going to be the last year with A-Rob, I believe.
Lester, this week we've seen a lot of articles and different, everybody's making the articles with basically just their opinion because there's not a whole lot to back it up right now. There's so many questions, more questions than answers. Do you think Eddie Goldman is part of this team next year?
It's hard to say. Obviously
it's just such a big cap savings if you part ways with him.
I think that's a decision the new GM will make. I think it's probably the best thing for the franchise if they do cut ways with them. But again, the cap's going up this coming up year. It's going to depend on what else they have on that D line. I know if Hicks, like if you let Goldman go and you make a nice cap friendly, team friendly deal to bring Hicks back, I think that's a nice way to go. But it's up to Goldman if he wants to play. I think ultimately, he did opt out a couple years ago. There was some other health issues he had besides the stuff with the COVID. So maybe he's a guy that says, you know what, maybe I'm done now. Maybe it's just enough. I've played enough. I made enough money. Maybe he retires. Maybe he steps away. Who knows? That's been some chatter as well. I think he's still a pretty good football player, but he's a nose tackle. The nose tackles, as much as they're an important part of a defense, it's not the most important part of a defense. You could find a guy that can do his job in Tonga, possibly. I thought Braxton played real good this last season. So you can find a cheaper replacement if that's the route you want to go.
So the second part to that question I had, not to cut you off, Andrew, the other part of that question was with and you spoke about him a little, Lester, with the play that we saw this year out of Tonga and Bilal Nichols also continuing to produce when he's on the field and Blackson. Do you think that it's a real possibility that we see Goldman and Hicks gone from this team next year?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. With Hicks, like I said, I'm jaded with it, or I'm blinded by my love for Hicks. I love Akeem Hicks, the player. When he's on the field, he's one of my all-time faves. So if it could work, I'd love to see him back. I just understand from a business side of things, it may not always makes the most sense. But yeah, he's he was allowed to shop for a new deal in the offseason, this last offseason. The writing's in the wall for him this whole season. So I think he's possibly gone. Goldman possibly gone. If that's the case, then the Bears, they have some nice young talent there, but you have to go to the draft, go to free agency. You have to bring in some more guys. Like if you look at Hicks, Hicks was when he first signed by the Bears, no one really knew who he was. He was an okay player. That's the kind of guy you got to look for. A guy like Blackson this last offseason. I thought Blackson's had a really nice year this year, and he's not making big money either. So you got to find a guy in the draft. You got to find a low-level free agency guy, and then, depending on what your cap situation is, maybe spend good there. But again, if you're going to stick with a 3-4, it's the edges get all the money. Those the D's and the guys on the nose, they're more space eaters. So I guess that's a good point. We get caught up in
speculating about the Bears, I guess we didn't even put 2 and 2 together, and you just kind of spoke on that there. Depending who the head coach is, a good chance the Bears could go to a 4-3 next year.
Yeah.
And if you do, you're talking about Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, assuming they're both still part of this team. At your ends, it's going to slide Bilal Nichols and Tonga right into those defensive tackles on the 4-3 anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on the scheme, what the team wants to do. I mean, with these this year and then the last several years, it's mostly nickel, mostly base anyway. So the straight up 3 front or 4 front doesn't always happen. But the Bears have enough depth in place where they can make that switch if they had to a 4-3. I mean, I think the defense is in pretty good shape right now as far as what they want to do next year. You got to get corner, you got to get safety situated.
Definitely need a corner safety.
If you do that, I think you're fine. But I think this offseason is going to be mostly about building things up around Justin Fields.
Oh, absolutely do agree with that. Before we let you go, Lester, I got one more question for you. And if you don't got 2 or 3 guys in mind, you just give us one. But who would you like to see as the Bears head coach next season?
There's so many guys out there. I mean, like the stuff with Harbaugh. I mean, he's not my top choice, but I'd be okay with it. I like Greg Roman. I like Brian Dable. I like Leftwich, but I think he's going to Jacksonville. Again, it comes down to who's the best leader. I like Todd Bowles. I think he's the guy that should get a second chance to run a franchise. I thought he was pretty good with the Jets his first year, but again, he's a guy in defense. I love Dave Tope. There's a lot of guys that I'd be okay with. There's very few that I just don't want to see. I'm not a big fan of a guy like Ryan Day coming in from Ohio State. He has the name there and the connection with Fields, but I just don't know if that's the right guy to come in. I think you want to get a guy that's either been in the league for a while that understands that, or again, one of these hot, young, Kellen Moore type OCs.
Makes sense.
What about a guy like? And I'm sorry if I missed. What about a guy like Doug Peterson?
I mean, I think he's a guy that will probably have success here, but I'm not sure if the Bears go that route just because the whole Andy Reid connection. It's kind of the same coaching tree. I think he has proven to be a much better coach than Matt Nagy. His staff have been much better than Matt Nagy. I mean, if it's Peterson, I'd be fine with it. I just don't see the Bears going that route.
Yeah, I do have to agree. I don't think they go right back to that Andy Reid coaching tree. I think that would send a negative message to a lot of the Bears fan base. But without asking the question, you did give me your opinion on Ryan Day. So definitely do see both sides to that coin. I mean, again, as you mentioned, if you bring in a guy that's a leader of men, really knows how to control a locker room and hire a good staff, then you don't need a guy like Ryan Day because you can hire quarterback coaches and offensive coordinators who will lead your group to success. So Lester, as always, it's been great having you on with us. We do appreciate you taking time out of your night to jump in with us, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon. So thanks for joining us. You want to let everybody know where they can find you real quick on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter at Wiltfong Jr. You can also find my stuff at WindyCityGridiron.com. Plus, we got the podcast channel too. That's always something going on there as well.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure to have you on, and you always got such great takes for the Bears. So we appreciate your time.
Anytime. Take it easy.
We'll talk soon, Lester. Take it easy. Man, talk about a heavy night on Bears. It's
right, man. It's just, like I said, we just blazing through it.
As little as has been going on as far as the Bears' success, I still feel obligated to talk about it because, damn it, I'm pissed off. It's time for a change. I'm tired of my guy Vince sitting over here holding Matt Nagy's jockstrap. I'm ready for some goddamn accountability.
Move on. I said it's time to go new direction. They gotta go a new voice, a new leader.
But hey, this time last year you were sitting there saying, I don't know why y'all hating on Matt Nagy so bad. Mitchell Trubisky is the problem.
I still think he was the problem. I still think Mitch
still trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
And you know what? For all we know, Mitch Trubisky might have traumatized him as a play caller. He's so gun shy now. He's so gun shy now because of how bad Trubisky was. He's like, oh no, I can't run that play. It doesn't work. No, just Mitch couldn't run it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I do get that from a certain extent, but man, as much as I've loved all the Bears talk we've had tonight, I think we got to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about these Bulls.
Wait. Pump the
What?
brakes.
What?
Before this show goes any farther, I've got to stand on my soapbox for just 2 minutes. I've got to stand on my soapbox and
Go
say
ahead.
2 things. A, we were dead on about Robert Quinn. Well, I was dead on about Robert Quinn. I told everybody, give him a break, give him a year to get healthy and be with this team for a full offseason. And now look, he passed his dent for the franchise record in sacks, and now he's going for the NFL record in sacks. And 2, my most favorite one to bring up, and it's finally we're switching gears a little bit, so it's got a little break in there in that Bears talk to bring it up.
I cut you off right there. You're gonna say you called both DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball coming to the Bulls.
I did.
And you did.
Y'all told me I was crazy. And Alan Bratcher, wherever you are, I told you it was going to happen. I told you they were the guys.
Now they got guys out here making T-shirts that say "the ball sack."
The ball sack. That's
they're
right.
selling for $30.
The Bulls got the ball sack.
But hey, realistically though, let's talk about a positive note. The Bulls are number 1, right? They're number 1.
Number
in the
1,
East.
2 games up in the East.
Who would have thought we'd be saying that? And I know we got a guy sitting in the green room that likes basketball too. So why don't we go ahead and bring in our next guest? You want to introduce our next guest there, Vince?
Yeah, so we've done the football thing. We're going down the memory road of Turtles Take, and we're going to transition here a little bit to the world of MMA, and we're going to bring out one of UFC's newest heavyweights, Lorenzo, the Dream Killer Hood.
Zo, what's up, bro? How you doing?
What's going on, yo?
What's up, bruh?
Nothing much, man. Chilling.
That's what's up. We first off, thanks for being on. We always appreciate it.
Man.
Absolutely.
I'm also thank you guys for having me on, man. I'm glad to see you guys doing big things.
Yeah, we're on the undefeated now, kicking things off here. Hopefully, a couple banger shows here week after week. So we had to go off with a bang. We had Steve Edwards and Lester Wiltfong on to talk about the
Bears in Chicago. I'm sure it's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So not everybody knows, but you're a big time Ravens fan,
Yeah.
and you're also a big time Jaguars fan. So 2 teams that are in totally different places right now.
My goodness.
Just tell us a little bit about about where your fandom is going here.
Man, it's the Ravens were showing great promise, and then obviously we got Lamar got hurt, and our backup came in, and he was doing great. And it seems like every week we go up, and then somehow we find a way to blow it. But luckily right now, I still feel like the Ravens got a pretty good shot. Lamar looks like he might be coming back in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And anytime you got a guy like him, I feel like you have a chance to win it.
Yeah, he's one of those video game type players. Definitely. Where he does things that you only see done in video games, but he does it in real life.
That is what I call a cheat code quarterback, because when you cover other aspects of football like fantasy, man, you always get so many fantasy points from a guy like that can utilize his legs, get out of the pocket, rush a touchdown. Guys like him, guys like Jalen Hurts are always favorites when you're looking at the fantasy realm of things. But man, Lamar Jackson is something special. It's unfortunate that he's been in and out so much this season, especially over the last few weeks. But I think the Ravens will be right back there next season, and they're not out of it yet.
Yeah, they're not out of it yet. I mean, they got a chance, and obviously, like I said, anytime you got a guy like Lamar or guys like Patty, Mahomes, and guys like that, I mean, you're always one healthy game away from being there. So.
Oh, absolutely. So Jacksonville, on the other hand, couldn't be more polar opposite. They go out and get the number 1 pick in the draft, Trevor Lawrence.
And followed up by getting the next number 1 pick.
Yeah, they're following up by getting the next number 1 pick. They got their coach.
The plan from the beginning. We wanted to get 2 number 1 picks back-to-back years so that everybody thought we were horrible, and then we just come back and put it on some people.
They got their coach kicking the kicker.
I like the plan.
I mean, the Bulls were horrible for how many years?
Too many.
Whoa.
Too many.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So listen,
They
it's
were-
okay to be bad for a couple of years and then come
They
back.
were bad from 2011 or 2012 to 2021, Vince. 10
Exactly.
years almost.
I mean, that's a
my
long time.
God. That is a long time.
That's
But we're good
Congratulations
now.
to your
That's all that
Bulls, by the way.
matters. Yes, thank you. And just in case anybody missed, about 10 minutes ago, I said I did call both those free agent picks. So
Yeah, he did.
you
I
know.
remember we were out somewhere and he was telling me about
Yeah.
that. And I was like, it's a
Mhm.
possibility.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I
let's
know you
transition
were-
now. Go ahead.
You
Go
were
ahead, Andrew.
texting me on the day it was going to happen.
Mhm.
They're making big moves. Something's going to happen. And then sure enough, a few hours later, I see it come across the screen. I'm like, what? He was right. He called it. But
Yeah.
nobody thought DeMar DeRozan was going to work out to be the player that he has for the Bulls.
No.
He is.
Not,
You know, I
no,
think,
not even
He
I
has
thought
done a
was this
complete
good.
360 and turned into.
guys
He's
like
playing
him,
the best
man,
basketball of
like
his
I
career.
feel like there's a lot of players in the league right now that if you put them in a position to shine, I feel like they'll surprise a lot of people. You know, a lot of guys are just playing on teams and they're probably like the C option, the D option,
Right.
you know, or they're probably sitting on the bench somewhere, and then all of a sudden you get you know,
Or just
you
not
get a
having
guy like
fun,
him who
right?
comes down and gets
Like
to be a
not
star
enjoying
again,
where you're at.
and you know,
Right.
look what he's doing.
Yeah, we were talking the other day. There was a meme that was going around, and it was talking about we're watching previous basketball we've seen with Lance Stevenson on the Pacers and Mario Chalmers on the Heat, Isaiah Thomas, all these guys that have Kenneth
Joe
Faried,
Johnson.
Joe Johnson, all these guys who haven't played in years. Just the weird ass world we live in now with this new COVID world we live in where guys
Right.
can't play because they're in quarantine and GMs are going back to guys who haven't played in years because they know them like, hey, come play again.
Isaiah Thomas is back, right?
Yeah, he's with Dallas. He was with the
That's
Lakers
crazy.
and now he's with Dallas.
That is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. But obviously we didn't bring you on just to talk basketball.
No.
As I said when we brought you on, you're one of the UFC's newest and most recent heavyweights. You know, you were on our show before at a previous destination, and you spoke candidly about your journey and everything you sacrificed to make every move you can to one day put yourself in position to be where now we're here today, where you're at. You've made it. You've gotten to where you wanted to be. Tell us a little about how that feels to have that plan, to put in so much hard work, and now to see it come true.
Oh man, first of all, truly blessed. You know, I always say that. Blessed to be alive, blessed to be here, blessed to be in any situation that's a positive note, man. You know, coming from what I came from, doing from, you know, to even be here to now, and it's kind of surreal for me when I think about it. You know, even I think 2 years ago when I came out of retirement and the world was kind of, you know, in shambles. And of course, like I had just chosen to come out of retirement, and then the world starts to go to shit, excuse my language. But you know, you know, even at that point I decided that like you know, I was gonna try to make myself and better myself during this time of you know, complete chaos around the world. And while most people were, you know, finding ways to you know, to make excuses, you know, I wasn't. I was just out there grinding and finding ways to work out and trying to get back in shape. I got super heavy, and you know, I was just trying to, you know, trying to work and do anything I could to get in shape. And obviously it was a little hard because gyms were limited and scarce and training was scarce, but you know, I did it. And as soon as the opportunities came to start fighting, you know, I was able to start fighting, and I rattled off like, I think 10, 11 plus fights, you know, and then obviously, you know, being able to, you know, now be where I am. And, you know, obviously I had my last fight, I lost, unfortunately. But, you know, for me, that was like, you know, a lot of people who lose in life sometimes, like it just crushes them. And obviously you never want to lose, but, you know, you got to learn from these things, and you got to understand, you know, and things and loss. Why did you lose? What was the reasoning behind it? You got to go to the drawing board, and you don't got to reinvent the wheel. You just got to kind of figure out how to make the wheel better, you know? And so in MMA and in my sport, you know, you got to figure out, you know, and obviously, you know, I'm not one guy to make excuses. I really don't. But I will say this: the UFC jitters is a real thing. I will say that.
Okay.
Being, like it's just a nerve. I think warming up in the back room, I probably threw an equivalent of like 2 punches the whole time. Like I just could not catch a breath. I could not, I could not get myself together mentally to kind of get my my flow going, where I need to normally be. And
Okay.
it was brutal, man. I mean, like the whole time in the back room, I literally just thought about every bad possible thing that could happen, and it was like, I'm not really like that ever. Normally I'm pretty chill. I'm a pretty positive dude, and I kind of go out there and just let everything ride out. But I cannot get it together, man. And I mean, even before entering the curtains, like I took a swig of water and I almost choked on the water. I mean, anything that could have went wrong leading up to that moment of going out there to the fight. And I mean, even with all that being said, there was an opportunity in that fight where I hurt him, I stunned him, almost knocked him out. Had it been myself and I took my time and relaxed, I would have got him out of there, but I rushed it a little bit. And, obviously he was able to capitalize, and his game plan was to put me against the cage and keep me there. And, so he did that. Bravo to him. It won't happen again to me. I'll come back stronger and be a better fighter for it. So again, in my loss, I found positivity, and then obviously the funny thing about losing and the funny thing about in my sport, man, so I haven't lost it's been a while.
Right.
And you notice the people that have were on my heavy bandwagon, that just hopped on the bandwagon because I was, just destroying people. Like some of those people wither away, when you lose. And then as soon as you win again, they come right back. And it's it's always an eye-opening experience for me, because I kind of get to see, I always reevaluate the people around me. I always reevaluate myself. And that's something I feel like people got to do more of, man, is figure out those people why are they in your life? For what purpose? And is it just a sunny day thing, or, because when the rain comes, that's when you got to look around and see who's there, man. So
Right.
for me, it's just been a cool experience to kind of get through all that again and learn from it and want to be better and get ready for the next one.
So are you actively training for your next fight now? I mean, do you have any details at this point of what your timing's going to be for your
have
next
some
fight?
details I can't really release, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
understood.
believe me, as soon as I do, obviously I'll come on with you guys and let you guys know. Me and Turtle were talking about that.
Much respect, man. No, we get it. I appreciate it. It's a business, and you gotta keep your side of things sealed up. When you do, I get it.
Definitely. As far as training goes, man, I'm keeping my strength and conditioning up. I've kind of took a little bit of a relaxation on the actual MMA training, just because I was going so hard nonstop and fought so much that this after the fight, I kind of just wanted to kind of let myself mentally dull down and let my body kind of just relax a little bit. So I'll be kicking it back into gear probably within the next 7 to 10 days, something like that, getting back to start revving it back up to full throttle. And I'm looking forward to that, because my life, without training, it always seems so weird.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, I see on Twitter some of the sessions you post and things like that, and it's like, man, I can only imagine what that type of workout takes out of you. And,
yeah, man.
Both mentally and physically, I'm sure, draining to say the least. So,
but I think part of that too, it's it's been a good time to take a break and relax and enjoy your family. I'm sure not everybody knows, you're not brand new, but you're still considered a new father, and you got that going on. And just want to give you a chance to kind of talk about what that's been like to make that switch to more focused on the family and take a little give yourself a chance to breathe instead of always pushing it 100%.
On you being a new father, I know, man, I'm an uncle now. It's crazy. My niece Bella is like, dude, first of all, let me just say that his daughter is probably the most beautiful thing on the entire planet. And I want to kidnap her because she's the best baby in the world. And it's so funny because we're always on the phone and I hear her growling in the background. And then not only growling, but it's just, she's always talking to him no matter what he's doing. She's not like she's a 30-year-old baby that's like a newborn. Hold on 1 second, my phone's messing up.
I always tell Vince that she's already got more hair than he does, but I think we might have lost Zoe for a second
I
there,
think we might have lost him too.
but
Oh
no,
man, he
we'll
is.
see.
My
Oh, there he is.
Oh,
He's right
oh,
back
oh.
with us.
oh yeah, man. So my niece, man. So I'm trying to let Vince let me to borrow Bella, man, but I don't think he's gonna let me do it. I keep trying to get my practice over there, but he he's greedy when it comes to that. But I don't know if you've seen her yet. But yeah, she's absolutely gorgeous, man. And it makes obviously life in perspective. Vince is like my family, obviously. So his daughter is damn near my daughter, and
Mhm.
anything that goes on in his life, So it's been pretty cool, man, to kind of see all of us kind of come together and become a huge family. And
Oh,
obviously,
absolutely.
like all of us being together, we got to spend some good time. During all these, and I talk to him every single day. We kind of know our regiments and what we're doing and know, the ins and out of,
Right.
Yeah.
but for me, man, really all it's been is just video games, talking to him, looking at pictures of my niece, trying to visit with him and them and make sure they're doing just fine. Vince, it's pretty boring, man. We live kind of boring right now, man. We're just kind of waiting to get to training, man. So, who
And
knows,
there
man?
ain't
Maybe
nothing wrong with
eventually down
that,
the
though. You
road,
need that.
we'll see what has in store, man. But for right now, for me, it's just about training and fighting, and that's what it's all about for me right now, man. It's just about
You're
getting
taking the
ready. I
UFC
got
by storm.
plenty of goals. Getting to the UFC was the first step of the journey. Now there's plenty more to do and plenty of things that we got to get done, and it all starts. Every single day as you wake up. Just kind of going, putting your first foot forward and taking those steps.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. And we'll always be here every step of that ride with you. I know you wanted to come break it that you were going to be going to the UFC here on our show. That's been almost a year now, right? So
Yeah, I think so, man. I think that was a show that
Yeah.
we had.
Yeah.
and
which-
we will always continue to be in your corner, and we wish you nothing but the best with your career, man. Here, hopefully, the next time we have you on, you're able to share a little bit about what's going to be next. But we know you're
Yeah,
not going to.
as soon as I find something, as soon as I get something solid and signed, man, I'll definitely, obviously, I'll let Vince know, and then we'll definitely come on the show and we'll talk about it, and then we'll have some fun about who it is or where it's going to be, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's what I keep telling Vince. The last time we talked about you, man, I was like, I can't wait till the day I'm watching a pay-per-view and I'm like, hey, I know that guy that's going
Yeah,
into the
man.
ring right now. So
The
Yeah.
beautiful thing, man, and this is, I'll leave you guys on this note right here. For me, man, the journey never ends, man. Just because,
right.
whether we win, whether we lose, whatever it is, man. First of all, just to wake up in the morning is a blessing. So you're blessed. The day starts blessed already. And when you start walking and talking and the chance that you have to do anything, to be successful every single day, you're already ahead of the curve, man. The one thing I saw this the other day, I was watching this Discovery Channel show. It was like super stupid. I can't even remember the name of it. Maybe Lost in Time or something like that. But the dude says, and he's talking, and he goes, man, how many seconds are you going to waste before you realize you don't have any more to spare? Right? And I was thinking about that.
That's pretty good.
It was the end of the episode, and I can't even remember what it was, but that's all I remember from the entire thing. But he was talking to this younger kid, and he goes, how many seconds are you going to waste before you realize you don't have any more seconds to spare? And it was in it was in regards to like procrastinating and like putting things off and attacking your dreams. And, like that really, like, I'm always, a fired up guy, but that really lit fire to my ass again to be like, damn, like we don't really know how much time you have left. There's so many people I've lost, young friends over the past year or two.
Yeah.
Vince as well. We've lost so many people. It's insane, man. And you don't just know how long you got left, man. So, it's just a blessing to wake up and don't waste it. I always tell people, just don't waste a day. You never know if that's your last one. And then, if it is your last one, make sure that you leave your mark, so, That's the biggest thing for me in my
Absolutely.
life right now. Is just trying to leave my mark.
Well, I got to tell you, we've had a lot of guests on, but Andrew can attest to this. You are always one of the most asked about and favorite guests that we've had on for all of our fans and followers. They love that.
Absolutely.
They love when we have you on. You always have such great things to say and such a great outlook on life and journey and everything and sacrifice. And you definitely didn't disappoint again today. We always appreciate having you on. And like Andrew said, this show is always going to have your back.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, I
definitely. I
appreciate it,
mean,
man.
it's
And listen, they probably like having me on because they get to realize how not to fuck up in life. And then you listen. Even if you mess up, you can still make it all right. Just know that.
Absolutely.
But anyways,
absolutely.
y'all, listen. Much love, man. Much power, respect. I'm glad you guys are doing your thing. I'll see you guys soon.
All
Yes,
right,
sir.
so we'll talk soon, man. Thanks
All right.
again. Man, always speaking wise words of wisdom right there.
Yes,
Our boy
definitely.
Lorenzo Hood.
Well, wise, well beyond sports and everything. We love to talk sports. We love to get caught up in basketball and football and everything, and even MMA. But just it's so I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for, but so maybe just a fresh of breath air to take a
I
pause
mean,
from sports and really just hear such a deep insight on life.
yeah, I mean, it's humbling, right? It's humbling to absolutely see, obviously we know Zoe and his story and, where he came from to where he is now. And those that have followed the show before have heard a lot of that on the air as well. But, you look at him and what he's accomplished, yet he's still so humble and down to earth. And, like he said, he's taken the time to focus on the things that matter the most and, kind of take a breath and refresh. And when he does get back out there, I know that he's going to do great things. He's going to do great things. And we here at Turtles Take will always be in his corner. And I look forward to seeing what the future brings for him, man, because it's only up from here.
Yeah, and it's always a pleasure to hear him talk about his niece. I fumbled over my words there and meant to say his niece, but
Yeah.
luckily he was able to pick the ball up as he does so well, and as you do as
No,
well,
yeah,
pick up
for
when I
sure.
trip over my words. But just to hear him talk about it, it's always a pleasure for me as well.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, with that being said, Vince, we're almost at 2 hours here, man. It's been a phenomenal, I don't want to say opening show, a phenomenal, what do we want to call this? A relaunch of
Inaugural kickoff party for the undefeated.
absolutely. I mean, it was so great to get to catch up and talk Bears with both Big Steve Edwards and Lester Wiltfong Jr.
Hell yeah.
Such great football minds there. And, always constantly seeing the articles that Windy City Gridiron's putting out. They put out really quality content. And we got our guy Big Steve, former Chicago Bear, as well as him from the arena circuit as well when he played some arena ball and everything like that. He's had a long career and been successful in a lot of different places, but really a great football mind. And, it's always great to get that perspective. It's very nice to hear the perspective of a former player, especially when, you look at a guy like Olin Kreutz was a guy that he kept bringing up. That's another guy he played with. And you hear a former player's opinion on a colleague of his and, what impact he could have to an organization. It's unparalleled because those guys have been in the trenches together. They've been in the locker rooms at the after parties, whatever together. And, been bold and honest off camera. And Olin's a guy that brings a lot of fire. As I said to Steve, I don't think the Bears would ever bring him in just because they want a yes man. But I would love to see Olin Kreutz join the Bears organization. And
absolutely.
Then we got our guy Lester saying that he doesn't think Ryan Day's the way to go. I mean, I wanted to swoop back to that before we wrapped up. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances Ryan Day comes to the Bears?
You know what? I think the only way that happens is he just has to say, no matter what, I want to be a coach in the NFL. because
Right.
the position he has at Ohio State, man, the way boosters are now and everything, it's not like he's going to make more money in the NFL than he does at Ohio State.
No.
He'll probably make more money at Ohio State between his salary and the boosters and the gifts and everything else that they get. He's going to
The
make more
house, the
money
private
there.
jet, the
Right.
cars.
You know, everything that you have there, and then factor in the recruiting. I mean, you're at Ohio State. Ohio State recruits itself. So you're always going to have one of the top programs in the nation. So, you know, to get a guy like Ryan Day to come to the Bears in, you know, such an uneasy and unsure position that you're more likely to fail than you are succeed. What, other than the fact to say you're a coach in the NFL, what's the motivation, right? So it's got to
There's
be
not
something
much
that
there.
just inside him, it's something he wants to check off his bucket list.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. Man, Vince, it's been great catching up with you, bro. It's been great having the chance to
I'll
talk.
tell you, this has been probably, I might say, one of my favorite show we've ever done. You know, it's such a good feeling being here at the Undefeated. You know, I just want to take a second to thank everybody here at the Undefeated for having us and bringing us, you know, giving us the opportunity to come on here and talk sports every week. Andrew, I want to thank you, man. This is, you know, we get caught
Absolutely.
up in talking sports and everything going on, and you know, sometimes we lose focus of some things. And I just want to say, there's nobody that I'd rather do this show with. You know, when the whole idea was coming over here and starting this show on Undefeated, there was that elephant in the room was who was going to be on the other side of
Right.
the screen. And you know, you being here is just like old times. It's like having my brother here, and it definitely makes this a lot easier for me, you know, and for us. But you know, for me, it makes it
Absolutely.
easier having you as the person to share the string with every week. So I'm looking forward to that.
Definitely.
We've had a lot of good shows. I couldn't think of three better guests to have, as far as three guests that really represent the Turtles Take brand. As y'all can see in the
Definitely
background, we've
agree.
made a little adjustment. It's Turtles Take with Turtle and Tarbill. Because I definitely
Yeah,
couldn't
look
do
at
this
that.
show. I definitely couldn't do this show without you. That's for sure.
I got my name on the screen now.
Hell yeah.
But no, yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's always great to be able to chalk it up with you, whether we're talking family, life, sports, whatever the case is. We always have a great
Yeah.
time. And
And
as
everybody
you,
check my boy out on his fantasy show too. Man knows what he's talking about.
oh, absolutely, I appreciate the shout out. I mean, but as you said there a little bit, this is something that we did together. It wouldn't have been right if I was not a part of it again. So I'm glad we were
Absolutely.
able to make this work out. And for those of you that didn't hear, we will be doing the show weekly on Tuesday nights here on the Undefeated Sports Network, 7 p.m. Be sure to tune in each and every week. We're going to have some great guests lined up, great content. We'll be arguing with each other a little bit, talking about Matt Nagy and all the other dumb
And
shit
the new
Bears
Bears
put us through,
coach.
and the new Bears coach eventually. But no, again, Vince, thanks for having me.
And tune in. Make sure y'all tune in right away next week, right at the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. We're going to have big time sponsor news.
Absolutely. Don't want to miss out on that, guys. We appreciate you joining us tonight, and we hope everyone has a great evening. Please take a second to like and subscribe to the pages on both Facebook and Twitter. Will be much appreciated.
Y'all come follow me on Twitter. I got like 30 followers.
Yeah, we got to get our boys' numbers boosted up. And our guy Angelo Ace is going to be on with us next week.
Oh, that's
So
what's up. I want to see that show.
we're going to have a good show lined up for you next week. Be sure to tune in. We appreciate y'all. Go give Undefeated Sports Network a follow on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. We appreciate it. Take care, guys. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you next week.